What's up, everybody? My name is Dell. This is Dell on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. And today we have another episode of Movie Theater Memories. If you didn't know that 2023 is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, it's the music that I grew up with, the music that I love. We are roughly the same age. I got a couple of years on it. And it is an art form and a lifestyle that I really started adopting in the early 80s, and ever since that's been the biggest music form in my life. And how does that relate to movies? Well, we're going to talk about none other than Krush Groove. This came out in 1985, and I was 14 years old at the time. Huge fans of Run DMC already. They were everything. Big fan of LL Cool J. He had just started off. Big fans of the Fat Boys. They were coming along at the time. Wasn't a huge fan of Curtis Blow, but had a lot of respect for him as a pioneer. And all these people I just named were in the movie. And it was a story of Def Jam. Def Jam was really just coming into his own at the time, with Russell Simmons being the founder of it. Rick Rubin also the co-founder of it. Rick Rubin's in the movie. Russell Simmons is not. He's being played by Blair Underwood. And they also had Sheila E. in the movie, another person who I was starting to become a fan of because she had just released The Glamorous Life, which was still her biggest single. She was a Prince protege. And then you also had cameos by Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was a rap group at that time. The Beastie Boys, probably the most famous group maybe not the most famous group at that time, but as the years have gone on, they just blew up. And I was a big fan of theirs from their first album, License to Ill, and just all sorts of other musicians just kind of wandering in and out of the movie, and people that I recognize. So this was a movie that I was definitely going to see. I begged my mom to go see this movie. She couldn't actually take me. She was working, and luckily for us, we had a woman, at least for this situation, we had a woman who lived with us, and she's a friend of my mom's, who my mom was helping out. And basically, mom's like, look, they all want to see Krush Groove. Just take them up to see Krush Groove. So we go there. We go to this theater. And I've talked about this theater before. We talked about Sunrise Cinemas out in Nassau, in New York. No longer there. Huge multiplex. Like I said, 16. Might have had even more than that. Might have had 17, 18 movies at this theater at the time. And it wasn't built like the way multiplexes are built now. This was like built out that way a lot. So you had this huge lobby out front, and then you had all the theaters in the back, of course. So when we get there, it's a cold night. I remember it being a really cold night. I can't remember if it was snowing or not, but it was October in New York, and it was me out there. My best friend is out there. Both of our little brothers were out there. Again, for whatever reason, I don't remember. I think my little sister and my little brother were both with us. My younger two little brother and my little sister, there's four of us. And I think they were with us, but I'm not 100% sure on that part. If any of them see this video, let me know. But I know I was there. Obviously, I was there. My best friend was there. And the next siblings that we each had, the next oldest, were there with us. We waited in this really long line outside because, everybody who had ever heard a rap song at that point in 1985 was trying to get into Krush Groove. And we got there. It was a night show. I think it was a Saturday night. But anyway, we waited in this long line. We finally got into the theater. We get in, and we're all excited. We're all just pumped up. The year before, Run DMC's second album came out, King of Rock. So, we were big fans of that. Like I said, Ella just released his first album not long before. I want to. It was before Bigger and Deffer, but it was his first album. Radio had been out. He had two singles, really two big singles. He had I Need a Beat, which was his first single when he was 14, believe it or not. And then he had Radio from the album called Radio also. Then he had a few other songs. Rock the Bells came from that. And that was like everybody's favorite. Movie starts, lights go down, movie starts, and the first thing you see is you see Run DMC in a booth, and they recording King of Rock. And really, what they did was they just played the song straight through. But when it came on, the theater was just electrified. Everybody in there was just we rapping along to every word of King of Rock. They played it as basically the opening credits for the movie, and from there we were all locked in. It was just, there was no doubt about this. This was our movies. This was, there had been movies about hip hop before. Wild Style had come out before, and a couple of other things like in '84 I think Beat Street came out, and Breaking I know came out, and we had some other movies, but this one was really the first time that we got to see rap superstars on the big screen. You know, this wasn't a common thing. Rappers weren't acting back then. The only rapper who we really knew that acted was Ice-T, and they didn't really let him act. They just stood in the background and rapped while everybody was breakdancing. The Rock is going. After this, we get introduced to them as characters, and yeah, it's the story of Def Jam. Like I said, Blair Underwood is playing Russell Simmons more or less. It's not the true story, but it's inspired by, and he's trying to get this record label up off the ground. And you know, he's going through a lot of trials and tribulations with that. Run is having his thing now. Rev Run, he's having his little issues trying to get the group off the ground, and you know, DMC is just there as a sidekick as usual. That's really the main story, and then there's this love triangle thing with Sheila E. between Run and Russell, and that never happened in real life, at least as far as I know, anyway. But yeah, none of these people were really good actors except Blair Underwood. He's always been a great actor, but none of these people were good actors. But it was just the fact that here we are, teenagers, this fairly new art form is less than 15 years old at the time, and I'm 14 years old at the time. So like I said, I got a couple of years on hip hop, and these were our stars up there on the screen. So as the movie is going on, it's just, you know, song after song that we know, and then the new songs that we didn't know we fell in love with. The Fat Boys stole the show. They were hilarious the whole movie, especially when we get to the all you can eat scene, and you know, they're basically just tearing up an all you can eat buffet while singing this song and getting kicked out, and we just had a blast with that. And all this time we hadn't seen LL Cool J, you know, for a long time in the movie. We didn't see him. We kind of forgot he was in there. And what happens is we finally get Def Jam is kind of up and running, and they're holding auditions for all these acts, and you know, they're saying act after act after act, and they're all just bombs. It's just terrible. And the guys that are in there, Run DMC is in this room, like I said, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is in this room, and they and Russell's in this room, of course, and they're all tired of it. They're over it. They're through. You know, auditions are over. They didn't find any acts, and just as they're about to shut things down, LL comes walking in with his crew. He has DJ Earl. He had two DJs at the time. If anybody was a real LL Cool J fan, you know this. Way back in the day, he had DJ Earl and DJ Cut Creator. So they walk in the room, the three of them. Everybody, especially Jam Master Jay's like, yo, trials is over, and he, you know, he's like, LL. This is quintessential LL. This is all the swagger that he can muster, especially at this time. You know, he's like 16 years old, 17 years old, and he comes in this room and he commands the room, and therefore commands the screen. And all of us, you know, we had just, you know, just really gotten to know him. He had only 2 albums out at the time. He wasn't the LL that you know now, but he was definitely on that way. He was definitely on that path. And he stands there for a second, and you know, I believe it was Earl's holding this big giant radio. He's holding the, you know, old school boom boxes. He's holding them, and you know, LL is just kind of, you know, he's just standing there holding court, and he goes box. Earl hits the play button on the cassette, and the song Radio starts in, and LL kicks at the first verse of Radio, and we were all singing along to that, rapping along to that. And that was it for LL for the movie until the very, very end. He just pops up with another cameo and does a little bit of dancing, but he just, you know, that minute and a half, 2 minutes of screen time that he got just ignited the whole theater. And like I say, we didn't even need to see him anymore. He did what we wanted him to do. And of course, Run DMC got to be the heroes. And then, of course, you got the big posse cut at the end with everybody coming together to do their part, their verse in Crush Groove, the song. And it was an amazing experience for a 14-year-old boy just getting, just starting to really form, his own musical taste and his own style, and being informed by these people up on the screen. And luckily, in my case anyway, it was never to a detriment. I was never out here trying to be some of the things that would come later on in hip hop. So it was still fun. It was still good fun. It was fashion. It was a I don't want to say a system of belief, but it does inform your beliefs and the way you see the world and some of the things that you get into, because hip hop is more than just rap. Of course, we got the DJing, we got the graffiti, we got the breakdancing, or b-boying as it was originally called. And those things have always stuck with me just all through my life. And Crush Groove wasn't, like I said, wasn't the start of that, but it was an affirmation that, hey, this is and this can be an important part of who you are. And I'll never forget the movie for that, because I saw this way before I saw Wild Style. I didn't see Wild Style till years later, even though it's an iconic hip hop movie. I didn't see that till years later. I had seen Beat Street, of course, and I'd seen Breaking. And Beat Street really spoke to me. Breaking didn't speak to me the same way, but it was fun. But Crush Groove, like I said, these were basically my heroes up on the screen at that time. So I will always remember my time with Crush Groove. If you've seen Crush Groove out there, let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you've had any kind of memorable experience with it, or any other movie, especially in a musical type movie. Not necessarily musical, because this isn't technically a musical, but a heavily music related movie. Let me know what you feel about those kinds of movies, and or just the artists that are in these movies, or some of the ones that I named. Like I said, Run DMC is in there. I'm gonna put it closer to the camera so you can see the Fat Boys in there. Curtis Blow is over there. Sheila E's in there. Let me know if you have any memories of those guys and their music and how you feel about it. And like, comment, subscribe, do all those YouTube things. That's all I have for you on this one. I catch you guys on the next one. Bye.